Hi and welcome to this tutorial on how to use the pen tool. Congratulate yourself for being here if you've already watched 15 or 20 of these and you still go, oh my gosh, why did it do that? And then you gave up and walked away for months and months and came back to decide to try it again. So that would be me, my story. Okay, so we're going to learn to use the pen tool by using what I've decided to call the straight line method of learning to use the pen tool. Okay, but before we get into the straight line method, I want to take a look at our setup on our canvas here because it's important when you're using the pen tool to know what you have going on over here in your swatches. These swatches are going to determine whether or not the strokes that you create using the pen tool, or the path, I should say, that you create using the pen tool, has a stroke and a fill, or I'm assuming you could just have a fill and no stroke. So let's take a look at what this looks like. We have a stroke and then we have a purple fill. So we're going to grab our pen tool, which is right over here. And if you can't find it, sometimes the icon that is showing might be the anchor point tool. I've added two other tools to this little flyout window of tools. But for most people, if you haven't changed anything, the only thing you'll see in this box would be either the pen tool or the anchor point tool. So look for one of those icons, we'll call them, and choose your pen tool. And you'll know you have it when this little dark pen with like an asterisk in the bottom shows up. And that basically means that you are ready to lay a path. So keep an eye on the portion where you see the asterisk, because that changes. It changes to one of these symbols that you see over here, and they all have a different meaning. Start a path, close a path, continue your path, add an anchor point in this spot, delete an anchor point in this spot. And this one we are not going to address in this tutorial, possibly in the next one. It's add a curve, because we're already going to have a way to add curves, and I think it's important to just learn how to use it and then add additional information as you go along so that you don't get too confused. So let's start with creating our box. I'm going to left mouse click here, and then I'm going to left mouse click here and here. And I have my stroke set at 43 points just because my document is so big. Yours probably won't be set that high. And I'll show you in a minute where you can change that. So I'm going to click here with the left mouse button. And now watch the pen tool for one of these symbols we were talking about. When you come over here to this first anchor point that we laid down, you see that there's a circle there in the bottom right of the pen tool. And that means that we are about to close a path. So we're ending where we started. I'm going to left mouse click. And that is what it would look like if we were laying down a stroke and a path. Also, I want you to take note of the fact that there is no blue string following me around right now. Sometimes when you're still connected to your pen tool, there's going to be a blue string, which is basically the preview of the path following you around. And it's not, because we have closed this path. So we're done with that. Okay. Now I'm going to turn off the fill, and you can see what we're going to be working with as we continue to learn the pen tool. Let's click here, and then let's click here, and we change it to no fill, and now you can see that's what we're going to be working with. But we're only going to create a straight line and learn. I want to say, oh, I'll just go on a low side, 60% of everything you might need to know about the pen tool. That's very important to know. Otherwise, other things you learn, you're going to make a mistake and you're going to go, oh, I don't know why that happened. And it's because you didn't learn these things first. So first of all, let's address the stroke and the fill. They can be changed over here in the appearance. You can see I have my fill set at none and my stroke set at 43. Yours probably won't be that high. I just have a really huge document here that I'm working on. And so for us to be able to see the lines, I have to have a 43 point stroke. So, okay. So let's go ahead and get rid of this box here. Let's just select it and delete it and go on to our straight line method. So we're going to grab our pen tool, and then we're going to click, say once. And if you want to hold the shift key, it'll help keep your line straight. Twice, 3 times, 4. Let's stop at 4. Now, do you see that? There is that blue line that will follow you around. That is basically a preview of the path. Like if I were to left mouse click here, it's telling me that this is where the next line will go. So let's just do that, and then we'll undo it. Okay, see? So there's still the blue line. So we're going to hit enter to get rid of the blue line, which will break our connection with the pen tool. And sometimes it takes a second. Sometimes it does not disappear right away. Okay, now I'm going to come up here and hit edit undo and get rid of that line. Okay, and you can see I'm being followed again. So I'm going to hit the enter key. to get that to stop. Okay, so the first thing we're going to want to do is see where these icons appear. Okay, so let's take our pen tool and follow this path. At our very first anchor point, you'll see the /. That means if you click here with the left mouse button, you can continue your path from this point. So let's do that. Left mouse click, come over here and hit the enter key to get rid of that blue line. Okay, so now what happens when we click on this anchor point? The pen tool is basically trying to guess what it thinks you want to do next. So it is guessing that since I'm here hovering over this anchor point that I would like to delete it. You can see the minus sign means delete anchor point. Same thing with this one. Same thing with this one. And with this one at the end, it's also saying you can go ahead and left mouse click here and continue your path. So let's do that. Left mouse click and continue. All right, and hit the enter key to stop from the blue line from following us around. Okay, now let's hover over this path without really concentrating on the anchor points. What do we see then? Now we see a plus sign. That means that there's not an anchor point here, but you can add one. So you could click one here, pretty much anywhere where this plus sign shows up, you can add another anchor point. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's left mouse click and add an anchor point, and then let's move that anchor point. Okay, let's move it. We're going to grab our direct selection tool. And if this anchor point was not already selected, and it is, because you can see that it is a solid square as opposed to a hollow square. So let's just click here. Now this one is selected. And let's click back here. Now this one is selected. So let's left mouse click this anchor, and we can hold down the left mouse key and pull up, and we are technically moving that anchor point. Okay, so what if we wanted a curve on that anchor point? Let's go back over to where our pen tool lives, because it lives with the anchor point tool. And we'll grab that anchor point tool. We'll click on this square, but click and drag. Don't just click. You got to left mouse click and drag. Okay, and then we can create our curve. And for a moment, this curve handle will operate both sides. Like, it'll operate both sides. You can draw it in, make it more narrow, draw it out, twist it this way and that way. Okay, and that is until you let go with your left mouse button. So here I'm going to let go. Okay, but I am still, if you see here, using the anchor point tool. It's always important to know which tool you're currently using. So if I grab one of these handles now, it is going to break the curve handles. So you'll only be operating one side. So let's grab that and go this way. See, we're only operating one side. And this is a good time to show you that, look, I want to work this side now, but the anchor point, or the handles have disappeared. So if I click the path just to the left of the anchor point, it'll reappear. And I can grab that handle and operate this side. Okay. So we have all that. Now let's edit, undo, and go all the way back to our pointy mountain look. Okay. So we're back to just having moved the anchor point into a point. So let's go back and make sure we have our anchor point tool, which we do. So click there. And then let's grab that and draw it out again. And remember, as long as you're holding on with that left mouse button down, you can move both sides until you click away, until you let go of that left mouse button. So let's let go. And if I want to operate this handle simultaneously, my next step needs to be to grab the direct selection tool. So from there to here, grab that, grab this handle. Oh, look, now I can still work both sides temporarily. You can do this until you have used your anchor point tool to move one of the handles. So let's go grab the anchor point tool and let's move one of these handles. Okay, and now you would think, logic would make you think, okay, I can go back up here and grab this direct selection tool if I want to operate both sides. That is not true. So I'm going to click here. This is important to take note of too. I'm going to click the anchor point. Both handles are going to reappear while I'm using the direct selection tool. If I was to click here, well, let's click away. If I was to click here, only one half is going to show up. Click here, this side's going to show up. So, okay. But if I click here, using the direct selection tool, both handles will show up. So let's go ahead and give them a move. But you can see here now that since I have used my anchor point tool and broken these handles, it does not matter that I have the direct selection tool in play at this point. I am still going to be able to only move one half of this curve at a time. Okay, I can only move one half at a time. So while we're here in this spot, I want to show you something that the direct selection tool, actually I don't. I want to show you what the anchor point tool will do. If you click in the same spot that we just did directly over the anchor point, you know, you would think that that would just do kind of what the direct selection tool does, but it doesn't. Watch, it's going to do, it deleted the curve handles. And you can see here that that is one of the functions of the anchor point tool, is to delete the curve handles. So they just disappeared. That would be why. So let's edit and undo that. And let's go back to the direct selection tool and let's click that anchor point here. And you can see it does not have that effect. Basically, it's just going to make your handles reappear. So it can get a little confusing, and that's why I think it's important to learn these nuances, we'll call them, of the pen tool, because otherwise you're going to be clicking around and have no idea what happens. So, okay, that being said, what if I want to delete the curve? We just kind of talked about that, so take a minute, and if you know the answer, go ahead and say it out loud, or type it in a comment. So we're going to grab this anchor point tool and we're going to click. And we have deleted the curve. Okay, now what if I want to delete the anchor point itself? Let's go grab the pen tool. And we'll hover over that. And we'll see that a minus sign appears, which means we're going to delete the anchor point. Left mouse click, and it's gone. Okay, so those are some of the things that the pen tool, the nuances of the pen tool, that when you watch other videos, you can keep this in mind so that it's not doing things that you don't understand. But let me go check my list real quick and come back and let you know, because there's some other topics I may have wanted to hit on. Let me see what they are. Okay, that's probably about it. I think we covered a lot of what it does. I call it the one handle mode, when you can use just one handle at a time, and the two handle mode for the direct selection tool, if that helps anybody remember anything. But let's just go back over what we've learned so far. Okay, we know that if we take the pen tool and we hover over each of these anchor points, it's going to tell us what it would plan to do with that next click. It's going to delete this one, delete this one, delete this one. It's going to let me continue my path on this one. We know that if we want to move an anchor point, we can grab the direct selection tool, select that anchor point, it'll turn into a solid square. We can then left mouse click it and drag it. Okay. And we know that if we want to create a curve, we can go find the curve handles, which is, well, it's the anchor point tool. And we can left mouse click and drag that out, and as long as we don't let go, we have control of both sides. If we let go and let go of the left mouse button, we now have to go grab our direct selection tool immediately if we want to continue to operate these handles. But then we also know if we grab the anchor point tool and we move a single handle, that when we go back to the direct selection tool to move them both, first we're going to have to click here to see them both, and that we have effectively broken those handles and cannot move both sides. Okay, so let's delete the curve. Let's grab the anchor point tool and click here on the anchor point, and the curve will disappear. Now if we want to get rid of the actual anchor point itself, let's go grab the pen tool, and you'll see a minus sign there. Left mouse click and it'll disappear. One other thing you can do is grab the direct selection tool and move your anchor points. Like if I want to click this one and move it to the left, I can move it over there. I can move it to the right. One other thing you can do is you can not only select a single anchor point, you can select more than one and move them. So let's left mouse click this one and then hold down the shift key and click this one. And now let's move this anchor point. And you can see that it's taking both of those pieces with it. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope there'll probably be a part 2 so we can get into more of what the pen tool does. But for now, I think we've covered all of the points that we wanted to cover. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Okay, if I had a signature move, it would be to end a video and realize there's something else that I want to tell you that I think will make your life easier. So we were talking about the add and remove capabilities of the pen tool to add an anchor point or remove an anchor point, and how it, throws up one of these little symbols to let us know that that's what it's going to do. But sometimes it does not throw up those symbols. You will hover over it and it will give you something completely other than what you want. So luckily Illustrator understands that it can't always be right trying to figure out what you're trying to do, especially as your designs get more complicated. So if you come over here to more tools, you'll see under draw that you have an add an anchor point tool. That's all it does. You have a delete an anchor point tool. That's all it does. And I have left mouse clicked and drug mine over here. So when I click on this flyout, well, let me click away. Come on, don't give me a hard time. There we go. Click there, and you'll see that I have the add an anchor point tool and the delete an anchor point tool. So the pen tool is kind of like a multitasker. It's going to try to guess, hey, did you want to do that or did you not want to do that? So if it is guessing wrong, just go ahead and grab the tool itself, hover over your anchor point, and you'll be able to get it to do exactly what you want it to do. So once again, thanks for watching. Have a good day. Bye. Both handles are going to reappear while I'm using the direct selection tool.